7 critical and growing IT security threats that pretty much all practices and really all small businesses, okay, all small businesses, and let's face it, the smaller practices and the big practices are small businesses unless they're GHS sized, right? So it really ought to protect against now avoiding data breaches, cyber liability, compliance violations, and all the different stuff. I am Chavis Camp. I'm the CEO and Master Technology Strategist for Carolina Innovative Research. We're based in Columbia. We have offices in here and Charleston. So here we go. All right, so today what we're going to cover, the number one security threat to your practice, and it's not antivirus, it's not firewalls, it's stuff that those cannot protect against. Stuff that those can't protect against. The shocking truth that you probably don't know about bank fraud that your practice needs to know about that can literally wipe out that account. And why firewalls, antivirus software, and whatnot are not enough anymore. And honestly, how your bring your own device and mobile device policies are seriously jeopardizing your practice's security. Again, folks like GHS probably don't need to worry about this, but because they've got that pretty locked down, but any smaller practice probably doesn't. So what we're really going to cover today is how to avoid being a sitting duck, okay? How to avoid being a sitting duck to cyber criminals and protect the practice that you, your doctors, and really your staff have worked so hard to achieve, okay? And maintain that patient care. So, and if you hang on to the end, there's a free bonus for anybody who's interested. We've got a cybersecurity and cybercrime risk checkup for your practice. It's about a $500 value, absolutely free. We'll talk about that at the end. Just sit tight and stay tuned, all right? So first of all, who the heck am I and why am I sitting up here talking to you? I'm a 20-year veteran of the IT community. I've been in this a good long time. I'm also an award-winning speaker, best-selling author. Most recently spoke last summer at a event in Harvard University. I spoke on cybersecurity. And practice managers, doctors, CEOs, and healthcare folks come to me when they're frustrated about their current IT support. They're having troubles. They're just not sure that their current vendor is keeping them good and safe. And really, most importantly, they want to maintain their independence from the big hospital systems and are trying to figure out a way to do that. And technology is one of those keys that allows them to do that. So, quick overview of the sophistication and level of mess that we've got out there in the cybercrime community. I was a cop for 12 years, okay, down in Columbia, South Carolina. I was a deputy sheriff, all right? And for deputy sheriffs and most cops, crime's pretty simple. Crime hasn't changed much since your old masked bank robbers. You grab a gun, you go to the bank, you hand them a note, you walk out with money, or you stick somebody up, that kind of thing. Crime has evolved, unfortunately. Yes, we still have that level of crime, but now we have all these different breaches. Anthem, Equifax, Target. I guarantee you there's probably someone in here whose card was compromised with either Target or Home Depot or JP Morgan. One of the three. All right, anybody? Anybody? I see some. Yep, there we go. Yep. And Andrea and I are, my wife back there, Andrea and I are Target customers. Okay? We're Target, we got our little red card. Okay? So, now we're looking at 80 million households, 7 million businesses, including healthcare practices, getting hit when JP Morgan went down. That was a pretty big one. Why are they doing this? It's money. It's not just one kid. I remember back in the days, there was one kid trying to hack the school computer system. No, I promise it was not me. Trying to hack the school computer system to change their grades. Actually happened at my school. I went to the librarian who was head of IT for our school. I'm like, you do know that wasn't me, right? She's like, yeah, we know who it was. It wasn't you, Chavis. Because there was only like 3 people in that school that were competent to do that. Anyway. Healthcare records, so the records that you guys have in your system, each healthcare record on the black market is worth close to $1,000. It's what the hackers and scammers can take and get in their pocket for selling that data. Credit cards, $2 to $90 depending on the card. iTunes accounts, $8, who cares? Physical credit cards, $190. Card cloners, to actually clone a credit card can be bought for about $300. Hey, IT security guys, Prox card cloners can be as well. So if you ever want to, no, don't do this. You can actually buy a cloner to clone the Prox cards that you use to get in and out of buildings. That's a great way for them to test it, not y'all. Okay? Those are the two Prisma guys over there. All right. So fake ATMs. A fake ATM, the stupid little boxes that you see at the gas stations can be bought for about $35,000. Wow, that seems like a lot of money until you figure how many credit cards they can skim over and over and over, because all they have to do is they ask for it, they ask for the PIN, and then they just give you an error message. Oops, we didn't get you your cash, sorry. But they've got your PIN, and they've got the entire stripe on your card. Put that in a nice public area, you got some money making. So, and this is a business, and anyone can easily learn every bit of this. A lovely little place called the dark web. I wish I had time to talk about that today. I really wish I had time to talk about that today. That's a whole nother seminar for a whole nother day. But on the dark web, all the training tools, the services, everything can be bought right there. So, anybody know what $380 represents? Anybody? Yeah, go ahead, please.
I think with inflation, it's actually $408. It's the average cost of the military healthcare breach.
Yep. Average cost. Very good. Stars of the class. The IT guys know it. All right. Average cost in 2018 per record of a breach for healthcare and other sensitive regulated data, okay? If you're in a small business that's not regulated industry, hey, you know what? That cost can drop down to about $140, $150 a record, plus or minus some inflation. Healthcare records, $380 per record that it's gonna cost your practice. Start doing the math with some of the ones you've seen recently. 5,000 records, 50,000 records, 500,000 records. Anthem, how many did Anthem lose? I can't remember. There was one in Atlanta lost 500,000 records. That's a lot of dough. So that number doesn't even include some additional damages, including the damage to your reputation, because as you all probably know, if you actually have a breach, you have to report it. You have to report it. Small businesses don't. They can keep it under wraps, right? One of my clients, I got a story about that. They kept theirs under wraps. Thankfully, they're a client now, so it won't happen to them again. Loss of clients, loss of patients. Your patient's going to trust you after that? Class action and individual lawsuits. Just because you do all of the little things and give them the credit monitoring and all this does not prevent them from then turning around and suing you or banding together in a class, if there are enough of them, and suing you. And the lawyers are hungry. Legal fees to handle the breach. Compliance lawsuits from our dear friends at the Office of Civil Rights. I love the Office of Civil Rights. Not really. Replacement of data. I'll get into that one in just a minute. And the downtime, loss of productivity, and the time just required to enter in all the data that you might have lost to get back up and running. So small practices, we think we're small. We're not gonna get hit. We're not gonna get hit. 1 in 5 small businesses, 1 in 5 small practices will fall victim to cybercrime each year. That number grows every single year. And small practices are the low-hanging fruit because you know what? A lot of times they do not believe that they are going to get hacked. I have one prospect I was telling the gentleman over there about. I could tell you the stories of them. Those guys are wonderful. They're neat people. They have no clue, and they are burying their head in the sand. So half of all cyber attacks are aimed at small businesses. That includes, as we said, small practices. So why don't we hear more about it? We hear some from the healthcare side, but let's face it, it's extremely embarrassing. And it's much tempting, it's very, very tempting to stick your head in the sand. So some people don't even know they've been hacked. I have a great story about that one if I have time. And it's really horrible PR, okay? Do you really want anybody knowing about this? I think the threshold, if I remember correctly, is 500 records. If it's under that, you have to report it to OCR. Under that, I think you can get away with it. maybe. But nobody really wants to publicize that, right? And the legal ramifications are just huge, right? So people keep this under their hat at all costs. So the key point is just because you aren't that worried, okay, or may not be that worried about having your information stolen, it doesn't mean that your patients aren't, and it doesn't mean that ultimately they're your clients, right? They're the ones who are worried about their data, and their privacy is important. It's actually more important. It's become a civil right, thankfully, thanks to the laws that have passed over the last few years, which is why OCR takes it so bloody seriously. So what are you doing? What are you doing to be a good steward of their information? And the biggest danger is complacency. Remember I mentioned the practice that was sticking their head in the sand? I swear they're just la, 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 and they're going to la, la, la themselves right into a giant breach. Needless to say, I will not list names. So here's the 7 things you can do for your organization, the biggest ones to stop them right now. And here's the biggest thing. The cyber thugs, as bad as they are, they're not the biggest threat. Who's the biggest threat? Anybody other than those guys? Other than the stars of the show? Say it a little bit louder. Your employees. That's right. Your employees are. Even good employees make mistakes. Okay? Good employees make mistakes, and they often are using free or unsecured information. They're using their personal email every now and then. How many times have you forwarded something to your personal email and replied to it, that kind of thing? And they're sharing that confidential information just because they either don't know better or they didn't think about it. They didn't think closely about it before acting. So, in addition to good employees, we've got bad employees. Bad employees. Disgruntled employees have done more damage than hackers a lot of times because, what they're doing, you fire them and somehow they still have access, okay? There's horror stories of IT guys getting fired and having a back door and managing to monkey up the works. Let's see. There's also what's called shadow IT. It's all the data that you don't necessarily know you have. Okay, because your employees have put it on places like Dropbox or Box or a personal Google Drive or personal Outlook.com drive or something like that you just don't know even exists. And their passwords are out there. They might even be using the same password that they use to log into your systems. So, and then there's just the oops mistake. This is a bit of an older story, but this guy was running a very successful company, Michael Dougherty, and some big guys, some big competitors didn't like him very much, okay? And one of his employees, this is in the heyday a few years ago of some music sharing, one of their employees accidentally checked the wrong box on their company laptop and all of a sudden started sharing a bunch of music. And one of their competitors found out about it. Their competitor then informed the FBI. The FBI came in, investigated, found that they had indeed been sharing these files out, sharing these media out, and prosecuted him. Didn't matter that he didn't know about it. Didn't matter that he didn't have any idea that this was going on, didn't authorize it or anything. They ruined, in legal fees, they ruined a multi-million-dollar small business. Number 2 is malware. Okay, 250,000 new malware threats are being released every day. Here's where I got a true story for you. They are now one of my clients, one of my old friends. July 2nd, 2018, just this past year. I am coming. How many of y'all been on a red-eye flight? Are they any fun? No, nobody likes red-eyes. I was coming off of a red-eye from Vegas, from a conference, back to Columbia. I was sitting on the tarmac in Charlotte. I get a phone call. Doors are closing. They've already announced. Chavis, hey, this is John, not his real name. We got a problem, man. Our IT guy's over our head a little bit. Somebody had a weak password, and they got in our network somehow, and we just found out our backups aren't working. We just found out our backups are 6 months old. And it's our ERP system. Can you help? I got some bad news for you, John. I got got to hang up because the doors are closing. I'll call you in an hour and a half. Now, thankfully, we were able to get their stuff back through some magic and a lot of work, but it took over $60,000 in fees, and that was not my bill. That was my bill plus 3 or 4 other vendors involved in the recovery. I don't even know the final total because there's some other stuff involved. I know what I billed them, and it was about a third of that. Untold loss of revenue. Why untold loss of revenue? They were down 15 days. 15 days. Now, thankfully, due to some amazing brilliance on the part of their CFO and some other folks, they were able to put in some stopgap measures to where at least their outside sales agents could still go visit people and still deal with folks. Okay? So at least certain activities were still happening, but the overall company, I can't tell you what they did other than they were a construction company. You can imagine construction stopped. Construction stopped. We had them back up and running in 15 days from the original hit. It was about a week and a half. Funny thing, we got their final data sent to their vendor for final blessing before they released it, approximately 3 hours before I had to jump on a plane to go speak at Harvard last year. They happened to get me in that week right in between when I was in town, and 3 hours before I had to go wheels up, we were finally able to finish it for them. Thank goodness, and they got back up. They're now a long-term client. Number 3 is bank fraud. Chavis, this isn't a cybersecurity issue, is it? Yeah, you know what? FDIC doesn't protect your corporate bank account, does not protect your practice's bank account, okay? So, and banks, when sued, are prevailing. So they don't do enough to secure their stuff. You lose money, you sue them, they've actually come back, they're winning those cases, and you have to pay them for their legal fees. How about that for a double shot in the arm? Whew. So I got a couple of tips for protecting you in those, for the bank fraud specifically. I know this is going to hurt everybody, but cancel your debit cards, especially your business ones. Personal ones, okay, I can see some use for them. We don't use them. We use credit cards for everything and just immediately pay in full if we can, because it ain't your money if it gets stolen, and the credit card company will fix it, right? Your debit card, yeah, they'll probably fix it. How much money have you, what transactions have tried to post and didn't post, or what other, pardon my language, what other hell have you had to deal with in that time before they got you that money back? So have a dedicated Chromebook or iPad Pro, you know, just a little device that you can use for online banking. Don't use it for social media, don't use it for downloading, okay? Sign up for email alerts from your bank anytime anything's over $100. Larger folks, you might want to do maybe $1,000. That's what we've got. We've got about I think it's like $500. We did the midline there. Anything over $500 comes in, we get an email alert just to make sure. Oops, we didn't do that. Require your signature, any wire transfers. That's a fun one. Anyone seen those emails going around saying, hey, I'm in a meeting, I can't talk, don't call me, don't text me, I need you to go buy these gift cards, or I need you to send a wire transfer right now for this amount, and it looks like it came from the CEO. One of my clients started talking back and forth with the guy before they finally scratched their head and they're like, that's not his email address, oops, and moved on. So, almost. And have your money and spread in multiple accounts to minimize the risk, okay? Especially multiple banks if you can. And this one is something most folks don't even know is out there. There is actually cybercrime insurance. Your insurance carrier does have it. They will have it. You can get it. It's not terribly expensive as long as you're covering all your bases on the IT side, right? It's not that difficult to get, and it will protect you and reimburse you in the event of these sorts of losses. So, number 4, social media. All right, 600,000 Facebook accounts are hacked every single day. How many of those are linked to other logins, especially in smaller practices? Again, this does not apply to your big folks like your GHSs and whatnot, but to your smaller practices, how many small things are tied to a Facebook login or a Google login or something like that? And the threat number 2, let's just face it, it's the loss of productivity from social media. Everybody loves Facebook. I spend way too much time on it. I went outside and did a little Facebook Live before coming in here, right? Talking about what we were going to be doing. But it really is a time sink, and when you when you start adding up the 1 to 2 hours times your employees or your people's hourly rate, I got you, times your employees' hourly rate, it starts to add up. So, and there's of course the bad PR. That's always fun. Ransomware, we talked about that a little bit. They got hit with ransomware and didn't have good backups. This is one of my favorite jokes. What's the most lucrative kind of writing? Ransom notes. So, unsecured mobile devices, the bring your own device policies, mobile device spyware is coming up. You lose one of those, if it has any corporate data on it, there's a good chance, practice data on it, there's a good chance you're going to have to report it. It's a mess, okay? And I don't know why we're still having to talk about spam in this world in 2019. They haven't figured out enough of a good way to fix it yet. Should be technology, but yeah, whatever. So I am running out of time, as I have just been told, so I'm going to have to move through these very, very quickly. Back up your data. The biggest thing is checking your backups monthly. These are things to ask your IT guy, are you doing? Okay? Test your backups monthly. All right? Had that happened, my client would not have lost their data. There's an orthopedics practice in Atlanta. They didn't test their backups. Hackers were on their system for 9 months. 9 months prior to actually locking all the files down and taking all their data. They had already pulled all the data off the system. They edited the backup system so the backups gave them the nice little green check mark, and then locked everything down. They had to pay a ransom. So, and again, multiple bank accounts. Let's see. Passwords. I'm sure everyone in here is using a good secure password. Right? Yeah. Anybody see their password up there? Don't admit it. Don't admit it. Come on. Use a real firewall, next-gen firewall. Know what it filters. Monitor it. Ask your IT person. Your IT person should be able to show you logs showing what they're monitoring and what they're doing and why they picked it. Anti-ransomware software that you pay for. Make sure your IT person's done their homework. Get them to tell you what homework they've done and why they picked it. And last but not least, we'll make this quick, the what to do if get attacked. Disconnect your freaking computer from the network, okay? Call IT. If you're at GHS, call corporate IT. They'll come and fix you. They'll come and help you out, right? Yep. Seek professional help. Don't try to do it yourself. When appropriate, contact the police and your insurance company just to let them know. And don't start Googling for the fix. No, you think I'm kidding. You think I'm kidding. There's a Russian firm out there. They wrote a bug, they wrote a piece of malware, made sure that they made the title unique enough to where when you Googled it, you'd find it, and then charged $80 to remove it. So, made money, too. So you need to get serious about protecting your practice against cybercrime. And since I am way over time here, risk and threat assessment really is a first step, an action plan, and then ongoing maintenance. You need to be talking to your IT people about this, okay? Just make sure that they've got your back covered. All right. So what we'll do, and I'm going to actually speed through this and go ahead and get to this. Anyone who signs up will get our mobile device policy template, but then also I can only work with 10 folks on this. There's no obligation, but what we'll do is we will actually come out and do a full HIPAA and cyber security assessment, cybercrime risk assessment. It's by application only because I want to make sure I can actually help you before we book. And so there's some application forms. Christian, if you will do so, be so kind as to start passing them around. And or you can text the word password, not your password, please. This is not a test. I promise this is not a test. This is not spam. This is actually how to do it. Text the word password to 555-888. No, that's not a joke. 555-888. Text the word password. It's going to ask you a couple of questions, basically your name and your email address so that and your phone number so we know how to get in touch with you. And we'll take the first 10. Unfortunately, I can't make any exceptions to that because we just don't have enough slots. But that's what we got. We got the forms coming around right now. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.